In Romans chapter 14, we see something really cool from Paul. And I think it's something we all can learn about. And I love at the beginning of chapters, a lot of times it'll give like a little half of a sentence, like synopsis about it. And the one on this one says, "Do not pass judgment on one another." That's what this part is about. And what we see is in Romans chapter 14, all the way up to the beginning of chapter 15, is that he's speaking about matters that are legitimately about opinions, not about biblical commands. He's speaking about things that at best are considered gray areas. And let's be really honest. I don't want you to hear me as a pastor here. There are plenty of gray areas. The Bible doesn't outline every single thing that is right or wrong, because there are things that we face today that wouldn't have been faced in biblical times. We walk through a different place and in a different world, and there are areas where God allows us to have a relationship with Him. That's why it says in the Bible to work out your own salvation, not somebody else's salvation, that it is your relationship with Him. And what we see is Paul basically slapping the wrists of Christians that are passing judgment on others for taking a different view on something that's not necessarily law, but is more personal opinion and preference and personal beliefs. And I'm not going to read all of it, but like just to give you an idea, when it starts off the verse in verse 1 in chapter 14, as for the one who is weak in faith, welcome him, but not to quarrel over opinions. Does this sound like some of us right here? One person believes he may eat anything, while the weak person eats only vegetables. Let not the one who eats despise the one who abstains, and let not the one who abstains pass judgment on the one who eats, for God has welcomed him. Who are you to pass judgment on the servant of another? It is before his own master that he stands or falls. I love this, and I'm going to jump ahead to verse 10 through 12. Listen to what it says. It says, "Why do you," and I want you to hear me right now, church. We are really, really good as Christians at trying to take the knees out of other Christians because they believe something slightly different. We're really, really good at nitpicking on the little issues that other people have and ignoring the giant similarities that we walk in each and every day. We are so good at trying to destroy and rip apart the bride of Christ, the church. Listen to what it says in verse 10. "Why do you pass judgment on your brother?" Notice he's saying your brother, your sister, not why are you passing judgment on people of other denominations, or somebody believes once saved, always saved, and you don't, or you do and they don't. Somebody believes that you have to be baptized to go to heaven and other people don't. And we nitpick and we fight over these things. And Paul is saying, why do you pass judgment on them? And then he goes on, or why do you despise them? Why do you despise them? And we do. We despise people that don't believe exactly the way we believe. And can I tell you right now, it's what's going on in the world right now, is that if you don't believe exactly what somebody else believes, that you are despised, you are judged, you are canceled, you are treated horribly. That's what we're seeing happen in the world. But we are not called to be of the world. We are called to be in the world and different. We're not called to be like them. The Bible is saying right here, and Paul is saying it right now, why do you judge them? Why do you pass judgment? Why do you despise? Listen, it goes on. For we will all stand, all of us, before the judgment seat of God. For it is written, as I live, says the Lord, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to God. So then, each of us will give an account of himself to God. What Paul is saying is, quit trying to tear each other apart. Quit trying to worry about that. And really what I honestly think is that in this world and in our walk with Christ, there is the ability for personal attitude. There's the ability for freedom of choice. And God's coming judgment one day, it should make us as believers hesitant to try and do his job. It's not our job to judge. It's our job to love. to care, to share, to reach out. And you might believe something slightly different. You might believe something vastly different. But that doesn't mean that we are called to live in judgment. Paul is saying so right here. We are all sinners, and Christ died for all of us. They are your neighbors, they are your brothers, they are your sisters, and we are to love them, because one day they're going to face that same judgment. Do not despise those that believe different from you. Love them, and let God love them, and let God help change the hearts and minds of people to where He wants them to be, not where you want them to be. God's judgment is so much bigger and so much greater. When we act toward others mindful of God and his supreme authority over us, then we're acting the way that Jesus taught us to act. In love. Because God is love. Don't despise. Let's care for each other. Let's not act like the world. Let's be better than it. Love you guys. Have a great day.